Everyone, welcome to the show. And today we are going to be going back in time as a means to try to look into the future. It's a very much a back to the future type of episode here. We are going to look back at 2008 to try to derive some lessons, right? And just, there's a lot of speculation right now about what's happening in the market. And I go, okay, cool, great. I'm speculating too, because who doesn't want to kind of know what's going to happen? But you're never going to predict the future. So let's use the past to try to learn a little bit of lessons that we could apply based on what happens in the market. Before we get into it, if you would be willing to subscribe to this channel, we would love to have you. We'd love to have you in our little small but mighty team of subscribers. So maybe consider that and drop us a comment if you are bored one night. I don't really care what you say in your comment. I would just be happy to have some comments is kind of the moral of the story. So let's look back at 2008. So right now, market's questionable, right? We got rising interest rates. Some of the national stats are starting to suggest that the market's cooling off because mortgage applications are down and inventory's rising and there's some price reductions starting to happen, yada, 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 right? You get the point. I'm of the opinion, and always have been, to stop speculating because you're never going to predict the future and just buy when it is that you can buy. Whatever the market is in that moment, okay, cool. It is what it is, right? It's the same thing with any, virtually any other investment. It's like, dude, when you can do it because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So just when you're in a position to do it, go for it and stop, playing around with it. So here's my condition. If you buy the house right now, can you truly afford it? What I mean is, are you stretching? And I've had clients like this before where it's like, man, you are stretching to buy that house. And like, you're right on the bleeding edge of even being able to qualify it for it. So that's question number one. Can you afford the house? Like, if you said, hey, I can buy something that I'm happy with for less that I'm pre-approved for. Cool. That's a great sign. I love it when people do that. I think that's highly encouraged. Number two, are you confident that your current income is kind of a baseline for you, almost like the floor? Or have you had a year where it was like, man, I had a crazy year this year. This is a great time to buy a house. Okay, cool, but I would maybe plan on what if you don't always have the amazing year that you just had? Especially for the business owner, self-employed person, it's very common that you think that you're always going to rise forever. I can tell you as someone who's been down this path before, that's not always the case, right? You have highs, lows, and you kind of average out somewhere in the middle. So please don't base your home purchase on the best year of your freaking life. Like, tone it down a little bit. But if you're confident that your income is a baseline and hey, there's no reason it shouldn't go down, and like, be honest with yourself, then hey, I would say go ahead and buy. Now let's look back at 2008. National median home price in 2008 was $218,000. During the recession, which went from 2008 to 2011, the housing market dropped by a third. Okay, so it dropped by 33%. It reached its bottom in 2011, right? So it was about 3 years of decline. Reached its bottom in 2011 of the median home price being $146,000. Okay, so you owned a house, your average home, $218,000 was what it was worth. 3 years later, that thing's worth 146 grand. Super sad, right? Like, super depressing. So the current, right, 2022 current median home price, you'll see different numbers, but I'm going to average it out and say that it's $410,000 right now. Okay, so let's just say back in 2008, you happened to buy a house and you bought it for $218,000 and you proceeded to see the plummet value all the way down to 146 grand. Sad day. But you were disciplined, okay? You were disciplined and you had the foresight to go, hey, no one panic. Shit happens. This is a bad case of shit happens, like the historically worst moment of all time. But like, shit happens. Let's just ride it out. We're okay. We make enough money to still be able to afford the house, even though the payments on a house that's about a third higher than the house is actually worth. We can afford it. Let's just stay in it, right? No one freak out. Kids, wife, calm down. Everyone just stay put, right? And you wrote it out. And in 2022, you're still in that damn house, and now it's worth $410,000. And along the way, by the way, you decided to upgrade some things, right? Because it was an average house, and along the way, you decided to upgrade a kitchen and do your bathrooms. Maybe you built out your basement, added a little theater room, whatever it is. You made the house feel fresh all the time because you kept just upgrading and making it feel nice and like a place that you would want to stay in instead of having to move and take that beating, right? And you stayed all the way to 2022. Now your house is worth 410 grand. So you have the added benefit of, because you've been in that house for about 14 years at this point, you're going to have paid down, I'm just going to call it a third of your mortgage, right? Because for those of you that don't know, your early years in your mortgage are primarily paying down interest, and it shifts more to paying down principal in those later years, right? So if you actually look at your mortgage schedule, the second half, the second 15 years, let's call it, that's when it gets exciting because now you're really paying down a chunk of that mortgage every single month, right? But you pay down about a third in those 14 years, which is 72 grand. So your house is now worth 410 grand, and you actually owe $146,000 on it. So you've got $264,000 in equity compared to a day 14 years ago where you were $70,000 underwater. You were $70,000 in the hole, and 14 years later, which I know sounds like a long time, I get it, but you remodeled it, you made it still feel fresh and all that kind of stuff. And now instead of being 70 grand underwater, you got $250,000 in equity in your home, okay? At which point you could sell your house, use that $250,000 as a down payment on a, much, bigger house or new location, whatever it is. You do whatever you want to do on that move. So what's the point? What's the point to these numbers? Because nothing I told you here was theory. Like, this is all based in reality. It's just historical data, okay? So what's the point? The market is always going up. There are moments of decline. They are very uncommon when the market actually declines. There's a moment where it kind of stalls out, or there's moments, many moments where it's growing at a normal pace. It's very uncommon that it grows like it grew for the last 2 years, in the same way that it's highly uncommon that it actually takes a decline. So stop trying to time your purchase, right? If right now you're looking at it, you're like, oh, it might dip, who knows, I might be able to get a deal or something, you're playing the wrong game, okay? Because even if things go to shit right now and you're a current homeowner and you see your house's value decline 33%, which I would bet everything I have, we're not going to get to that point. It doesn't matter unless you sell it, right? So stop trying to predict markets. I beat this dead horse all the time, right? Time wins. Things rise over time. It is simply history. Will it always be that way? Don't know. Can't predict the future. But what I know from looking back at 100 years worth of data, things always go up. So wouldn't you want to be in sooner than later if you know that even if it has a temporary dip right after I get it, that historically it goes up. And over time, that's when you win. Brilliant video, everyone. Brilliant video. Unfortunately, I do have bad news for you. So this Japanese whiskey, Suntory Toki, I loved. And over the past year of having this bottle open and just kind of getting through it, it's changed on me. Or I've changed on it, one of the two. I quite dislike this now, but I loved it when I first cracked it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. So this is a revised opinion. I know it's going to have a major impact on their sales that I'm saying this right now. I feel so bad for their stock price, but I can no longer sign off on this Japanese whiskey. So that's a bombshell. It's a bombshell, everyone. I don't know if my taste evolved or if this whiskey just went to shit now that there's a lot of air in the bottle, which is possible. I don't know. So anyway, if you guys need real estate help, let us know. If you want to chat about whiskey, comment below. Maybe, there you go, you can comment with that. What kind of whiskey you like to drink. So I hope you guys are doing good. Take care of your dogs. Give them good food. Take them for walks. Give them pets. Brush them. All that good stuff. And we'll see you soon.